Recording.
Good
Right.
evening to yes. Good evening to everyone present here. This is Shubham Jindal from Ideas Unlimited Sports Management Group. We are here with the fourth episode of the Mission 2030 series of ensuring India gets into the hallowed tournament that has been revered all around the world. We've seen some of the countries taking part, and so to ensure that we basically take the conversation forward, we have been speaking to people in the sports fraternity, the football fraternity in India from different verticals. So for today we have Mr. Ankan Banerjee. Apart from being my teacher and mentor in the industry, he is basically the faculty member of Indian Institute of Social Welfare and Business Management, which is the first management as well as the sports management institute in India as well as South Asia, in fact. And apart from that, he handles the ongoings, the operations, everything that goes around with the college, which has given the sports fraternity, not just in India, but across the world, a lot of, credible, alumnus working across the likes of the International Cricket Council to AIFF to a lot of other corporate bodies. So glad to have you, sir, on this program. So we'll start with the first question, which we have been asking everyone else. So you've seen the World Cup which ended. Saw the likes of Qatar, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, and a lot of other Asian countries like Korea and Japan taking part. So where do you see India's chances in the World Cup of 2030? Do you see it as a realistic aim, or do you think it's a very long shot for us right
Uh, Thank you, Shubham, for the wonderful introduction, and uh, thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my views on this topic. You know, football is very close to our hearts, and we always expect our country to play in the Football World Cup. If I go by the ranking, then India's present ranking in the world is 106, and in Asia 19, most probably. Considering the fact, I believe that 2030 is a very important year where, if not qualifying in the World Cup, we can consider the year as the year to evaluate that whether we are moving in the whether we are progressing in the right direction, or there is any kind of deviation from the right direction. What are the rectifications that we have to make? In that particular case, I think 2030 is a very important year for us, and FIFA is planning to increase the number of teams that will participate in the Football World Cup. And considering that, I believe India's possibility of participating in the World Cup that will certainly increase in the near future. And I'm hopeful that India will play in the near future in the World Cup. If not 2030, then 2034, 2038. But 2030 can be considered as an important year where we can make a strategic plan and we can evaluate that whether we are moving in the right direction or not. Yes.
Yes, I think rightly said, sir. If not Mission 2030, it can be Mission 2030s at least, where, in at least one of the World Cups we make through. So,
Right.
sir, going forward with this, taking discussion forward. So, what would be the roadmap according to you? If we want to get into the World Cup, in any of the three World Cups that you mentioned, what would
Mhm.
be the ideal roadmap for us? What have been we doing? What has gone wrong? And what would be the way forward to ensure that it does happen eventually?
See, what I think is what we require at this particular point of time is a long-term strategic planning, covering all important aspects of football and its administration and management. And we have to ensure that the football development pyramid that should properly be placed in the Indian football system ecosystem. For example, in many sports in our country, we are focusing more on the elite sports, where the grassroots, that is the part which is very important. So first, what we need to do is that we have to organize various kind of competitions, tournaments at the grassroots level in order to provide the participation opportunities, and so that the right kind of talents they will get the chance to show their athletic prowess. And then from the grassroots, we can select the right kind of talents. We can provide them the proper kind of exposure, right? And we can nurture them through the regional academies, elite academies, and then we can take them to the elite level. So basically, if we want to make our apex strong, we have to make the base of the football development pyramid stronger. So this particular, football development pyramid that we have to establish properly in our system, so that we can select the right talents we can nurture them over a period of time, and eventually we can take them to the elite level. And the entire system that should be supported by certain important components, like we need to have the right kind of infrastructural facilities, we need to have the qualified coaches, we need to have the competitions happening in a regular interval, we need to have the application of the sports science in terms of injury prevention, in terms of recovery, in terms of rehabilitation, psychological support in terms of goal setting, distraction management, and resources, including financial resources. And when we are organizing tournaments at the grassroots level, when we are trying to establish the system, we need to have the financial resources, and that also we have to understand how to generate the resources. And also we need to have the professional and qualified sports managers like you, who will hold the entire system properly, and will take the entire system forward. And all the stakeholders, it is not the responsibility of only the national body, all the stakeholders of football, they should sit together, and they have to brainstorm, and then accordingly we have to develop this particular strategic planning, so that everyone should be involved in the entire plan, in the entire roadmap. And systematic evaluation is also required. After each and every year, we have to evaluate that whether we are progressing in the right direction or not. Then only achieving the ultimate objective will be possible. And also in today's time, everything is data driven. Data driven means today the role of the spotter, that is very important, but at the same time, there are few technologies on the basis of which you can evaluate the performance of the players throughout the season, starting from the distance covered, starting from the to the passes made, accurate passes made, assist, scoring, injury, recovery, each and every stage. So on that particular basis, we can actually collect the database, and we can see whether the players individually, they are also progressing or not, what kind of support do they require. Accordingly, resource allocation should be done. So the scientific system is something which is required in the football ecosystem in our country. And if we can establish that, if we can introduce a professional approach, then playing in the World Cup will not be a distant possibility.
I think, sir, that was a very wholesome, explanation of what could be required for us to get through. I think everyone listening to this session, with when we upload it on our social media channels, they'll get a lot to learn from this. So apart from that, a quick question also on the hosting that we have been doing, the two under 17 World Cups we hosted, and we are also planning to host the continental level tournaments. Do you think, sir, is the right way to go? This is supplementing the way we want to qualify for the tournament, or do you think we should completely pool all our resources into the qualifying through the matches directly?
Actually, hosting World Cup is something that we can plan, because 2036 we are planning to organize the Olympic Games, and probably India will put their bid for hosting the Olympic Games in 2036. So considering that, organizing World Cup during that period of time, 2038 or 2042, that will not be something which is impossible, right? There is a possibility. But at the same time, just only playing in the World Cup by hosting the World Cup is not a good idea, because there we have to perform,
Yes, sir.
right? And if we want to perform that, we have to organize many other tournaments in order to provide our, or we have to play in other tournaments where we can provide our talents and exposure, so that they can understand what is the standard of the global football and where we are lacking, and accordingly they can develop themselves. So these are the proper kind of exposure. And by hosting the tournaments, what we can do is that we can you know organization wise, how to organize mega sports event, mega football events, that experience we can gather. And at the same time, we can give the exposure to our talented players, that this is the standard of world football, global football, and this is our standard, and this is how we can develop, right? So this is my take
Yes,
on
sir.
this.
Completely makes sense, sir. So I think this was a very short but very interactive session where we
Mhm,
got to learn a lot from your end, and
mhm,
we'll definitely try to take it forward. With our Mission 2030, we have a lot of activities and initiatives planned up. For
mhm,
this year especially,
mhm.
and definitely, sir, you'll be a very integral part to it.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Thank you.
with that, uh, yes, sir. With that, we'll like to let
Mhm,
everyone know that a lot of it is coming up, a lot of activities to ensure that India does make it to the Mission 2030s. So thank you,
mhm.
Ankan sir, for joining us. This is
Most
Shubham
welcome.
Jindal, yes, signing off from Ideas Unlimited Sports Management Group, Mission 2030. Thank you so much.
Thank you.